Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Marvel's The Defenders, Season 1, Episode 6. It's called Ashes, Ashes. And full spoilers for the episode, as always. That's funny, I had a lot of things to say, and then the ending happened. Like, I was thinking, you think as you're watching, okay, well, I'm going to talk about
Yeah.
that, I want to bring that up, I want to bring that up. And then it got to the end, and I'm like, okay, the rest of it's irrelevant. The ending is the most important part, right? Forget the
But
rest.
before we get to the ending, this episode basically went Iron Fist, shut up, you're not needed.
See the opening, like before we got to the titles, and it was basically they had the conversation where it's like, okay, we know they need you now, and they all start to like, okay, what can we do that's smart? Let's not let him have him. Let's keep him safe, and I thought send him in a plane, get him, other side of the
Out of New
planet.
York, yeah.
Yeah, and of course Iron Fist being Iron Fist, like, no, I just want to run in and punch them because that's what Iron Fist does. That's the
He's like,
full.
this is my fight, guys.
Yeah, this is the full capabilities of him, and it got to the point where Daredevil steps in front. I was like, oh, they're going to fight. There's going to be three on
It's
one.
it. I mean, it's not a superhero team up until you have a fight, right?
Yeah, they
I'm
have to.
surprised we haven't had it already.
That's. I mean, we already had Iron Fist and Luke Cage. To be fair,
Well,
a little
yeah,
bit of that.
yeah, but we didn't really have
But
proper.
honestly, could you have predicted that we were going to get all three of them against Iron Fist?
It's
And
beautiful.
it was great because it was kind of like they were holding back, and then Jessica finally said, "You know what? Sorry about this," and she just knocks him out in one punch. Oh,
It
it was beautiful. It was
was.
beautiful stuff. And then it gets tied up.
And I love how the whole episode, he still has this bollocks where he can't actually do his chi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
look, the whole thing from his show was like, it was like, oh, my chi's out of balance. And it's like, didn't you just train for 10 years so this that you could do this on command?
Needs to recharge. That's what it
And
is.
then this whole thing, it's like, nope, can't do it yet.
I mean, it led to some nice little bits of bonding with him and Luke. But the funny thing is when him and Luke were arguing, like, Luke was knocking out some great points.
Just when Luke was like, oh yeah, go on, tell me all about your
Oh,
dragon,
that was great.
and he just starts coming out with it like dead serious again, as always. It's like,
And I get it's like,
and Luke,
I mean, obviously it's a TV show, so it's scripted, but it's like he has this scripted monologue that it's like, yes, it was the forbidden dragon of the blah blah blah
right,
blah.
right, but
Yeah.
this time Luke was like, I don't give a shit.
And then he pities him, so he's like, oh, go on, tell me about the stupid dragon.
I guess you're tied up. I'll let you speak instead.
Dear. So death, lots of death. One that
Yeah.
I'd seen coming out like before the season even started. I'm like, Stick's probably dying, right? That was
Yeah. And if you'd asked me before the season, I probably wouldn't have cared that much. But he's kind of grown on me in the last few episodes. It's
yeah,
probably the best he's ever been.
yeah. I mean, I'm not that upset that he's gone.
Oh no, me either.
Especially, I
But
mean, especially since he was about to kill Iron Fist. I mean, that was the most I've ever liked him. Let's be honest.
right, I was like, just let him finish this first.
Let him do it. Look, like I know you're kind of half knocked out. Let him do it. And then, of course, Elektra had to show up and spoil the fun.
Damn it, Electra.
Man, we almost had rid of Iron Fist. Um, but again, it's an idea where he's like, oh, I've got another idea. I can just kill him. Then there's no Iron Fist to open the door.
Genius.
That man's got a plan. Although Stump Watch, the stump was worse than it was before. Now
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
longer. Like seriously, who's keeping track of this? This is shocking. Shocking display of.
Maybe what it is, you know how I said it shrunk after he chopped the guy's head?
It got bigger when
Maybe
what?
what it is for all the time he doesn't use it and like, doesn't kill anyone. It just grows and grows and grows. If he'd killed Danny, it would have shrunk back down again.
Oh dear. So after they've tied up that, they talk a bit more about things, and we actually bring up that big hole that we found in Daredevil season 2.
Yeah, I'd kind of forgot about that.
Well, I had until a point, but then when
I'd forgotten. I didn't realize it was the same place
yeah,
as
because
this
it was
building.
being which was a nice bit of setup, I suppose, on their part. Like it was all
Yeah,
kind of planted there in the
it
background.
makes sense.
But they, so they're a little bit pissed that they didn't mention it before. And to be fair, even we'd forgotten about it, so I wasn't really
Yeah,
that mad at him. But it was basically because it involved Elektra, and because he was keeping Elektra from them, And he'd only just admitted that, like, in time. Obviously, it was like an episode ago, but in their time, it was like 10 minutes ago that this was brought up. That because it was in the same room before they fought Iron Fist.
right.
Uh, so they decided, okay, right. So Jessica and Matt are going to go and investigate the architect because he was involved in building the building where the hole was. Makes a lot of sense. And they obviously Sticks like, okay, they say he's a key. we're taking that literally. He's a key to something. They want to get something that's underneath the city. So they go off and investigate, and some nice stuff at his apartment. Obviously, Elektra has this little dream sequence, actually, where she sort of remembers Matt and her having a sort of nice moment. But she's gone by the time they get there. Although Matt does notice his Bible, his Braille Bible, has moved, and he's like, does this mean something? Was she here? He's not.
But he's questioning.
He's questioning. And yeah, I really like Jessica and Matt together. There was some fun bonding, and probably one of the sweetest moments of the season so far is so they go to the architect's house, and there's some jokes about like her saying, "Oh, they all look the same, don't they?" It's like, "Oh, sorry," it's like, there's some little jokes like that, and she's like, "Oh, I'm like 92% sure," but that's still quite a lot. Like, there's some fun banter.
She's right; it's pretty accurate.
And the mum's not there; it's the daughter, who's been kind of. I mean, her dad's just like killed himself, so I don't blame her for being like this. But she's kind of the typical moody teen where she doesn't want to talk to anyone, kind of thing. But Matt acts nice, and I was thinking, I'm sure I've thought this before on his own show, but being blind does kind of make it easier for people to trust you, doesn't it? Like
it does,
because it's just you ask for something, and the sort of thing where you would say no to like anyone else because like, oh, I don't want to let a stranger out of my house, but you're blind, so
it's almost the idea that they pity him.
Yeah.
So they accommodate for him, and it doesn't just go for just blindness, but it's the sort of thing that you can. It's just the idea that it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess we should be helping you out, so I'll do this sort of thing.
So they come in and ask her a bunch of questions about what he was like, before he died. Did his like attitude change? Was he acting differently towards the end? All that kind of thing. And he was, he's kind of because she says she basically lost her dad like a long time ago before he died. It was like he was already gone and whatnot. But there's this really sweet moment where like she's clearly like hating her dad right now for everything he's done and everything and she tells basically she's like, oh, I had this friend, his dad was a boxer, and immediately like, oh wait, she's just telling Matt's story here. And it's this really sweet story about how his dad was actually a good guy and how he died because he was trying to stop what he was and become something better. And it sounds like her dad was kind of in the same boat, although room full of C4 is a bit more of an extreme way to go about it, but circumstances dictate.
Right, but he was doing the ultimate good.
Yeah. I think there's this weird thing though where you're stockpiling C4. It doesn't matter what the intentions are for. It just feels shady. Like it doesn't matter.
It does feel shady.
Yeah.
But you're kind of going, okay, I see his good intentions in this.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately he should have found help somewhere. I get why he felt trapped and that he couldn't just talk to people about things, but yeah. And Matt has an idea. He goes over to the piano, and I'm surprised the girl never asked, "How did you know there was a piano there?" Because how would he know there was a piano?
She told him about the piano. She said that the dad used to play the piano.
Oh, did she mention it?
She said he used to play the piano, but he stopped doing that. In the whole bit where she was saying how he changed.
I glossed over that line then. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Because
it was buried in that whole exchange.
Yeah, because as soon as I was like, how did he know this? I mean, because when he stood up, he was like, okay, point me. Like I was like, okay, but you just admitted you knew it was a piano. But fair enough. Like the line was there. So he goes over and he plays, and do you know what I like? It was convincing that he wasn't that good. It sounded like, okay, he knows how to bang some keys into a melody, but he was going kind of slow, and it was kind of.
I like that he was playing the title theme.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
I was like, oh, okay, that's nice.
It wasn't super noticeable at first, but after he hit the sequence a few times, I was like, oh, he's done his own theme tune.
I called it. I got it like immediately after the second. I was like, that's the title music.
You have a degree in music, so you know what?
I know, but it was really recognizable. So I actually give credit to this title theme for being so recognizable when it's so simple.
Oh yeah, it's honestly like I like the Defenders one well enough, but it is really generic. Daredevil's the only one that's got a theme tune that honestly sticks out in my head that I could hum it or I'd recognize it when I hear it. Like if you play me Jessica Jones theme right now, I probably wouldn't recognize it.
Oh, I love Jessica Jones theme, but then I like that whole.
Same with Luke Cage. Same with Iron Fist. I remember like the opening titles. There was like a grey martial artist like doing spin kicks. That's all I remember from that.
I remember Iron Fist is the only one where I skipped the title sequence consistently. It wasn't that bad, but I was just wanting to get through the episode.
I could tell you that Luke Cage was hip hoppy and that Jessica Jones was jazzy, but that's like I couldn't remember what they sound like. I remember what they were like, but not what it actually sounded. So So they find, he hits a D sharp. He's like, oh, there's something in the piano. The strings hitting something. And
no, you can hear it as well. To be fair,
oh yeah, you can hear it.
Really
Yeah, it sounds dampened.
Yeah.
But she like lifts up on the piano, and there's like plans or schematics and blueprints for secret things like the underground parts of the building and whatever's down there. So they found something useful. And again, they have another sweet moment afterwards when Abraham's like, "How did you know about my dad?" And she's like, "Well, as soon as you started following me, I'm like, oh, I'm looking into this asshole." And it makes sense. It works for a character. Of course she looked into him.
Yeah,
why wouldn't she? Meanwhile, of course, Stick's doing his assassination attempt on on Danny and Luke Bond a little bit. It's funny. I will credit these shows, and they've all done this to a point. Iron Fist was the worst for it, right? Because it felt super noticeable, because it felt that the whole show was that. But I do think these shows look bigger budget than they are because they spend their money wisely, and there is episodes like this where most of it takes place in a couple of rooms.
Yeah.
And I think that's wise spending, because they're saving it for the bigger... Because I think people sort of discount how expensive it is to do those street shots that they do. Like, you know, when Matt and Jessica are walking outside just in the New York streets, like that's actually really expensive to do.
Yeah, it is.
So they counterbalance it by spending a lot of time just in, like, you know, Iron Fist and Luke Cage and Stick are in this loft the entire episode.
That's fine as long as it looks all right, you know, and
as long as it makes
use
sense
it well.
as well. Like if you know, if it feels like they're staying there when they shouldn't be, but it felt natural that they should be there.
It did. My biggest problem with this whole, you know, sequence was, you know, when Danny first wakes up and then Luke just explained everything that we just went over, and this was kind of the problem we had with Iron Fist, where it was a lot of retelling of information that, sure, the characters need to know, but it was kind of redundant to us to see it.
It's fair. To be fair, most things do it occasionally, so the fact that this is the first time that it stuck out to me in this show doesn't bother me too much. Right,
but it felt particularly noticeable because it had been something that we'd literally just learned about like 5 minutes before.
Nah, it's fair. Like I say, one-time offence isn't a big deal. Iron Fist was a problem because it was doing it multiple times an episode all season, and it was like, God damn it, will you stop this? Because sometimes the reaction of the new character finding out is worth it. With Danny, that's not true, because Danny just sits there and makes the same face.
He doesn't have a reaction.
Yeah. He says the same thing. Oh, we need to go fight the Hand. It's my destiny. Blah 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 blah.
It's a war, duty, destiny.
Oh my God, it's a broken record.
Speaking of broken records.
Oh, there you go. Nice segue. Yeah. So something's up with Alexandra's old vinyl collection. It's skipping a little bit. There's a little problem with the record.
Just sounds like a little scratch.
Yeah, like something's not quite right.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Just funny, because I went through a bit of a weird wave in this episode with the Hand stuff, because on the one hand, because I wasn't I liked some of it last episode, and in this episode the problems I was having were sort of getting bigger again, and the problems I was having was like, I don't like that it's becoming this committee and that she's standing around debating in this one white room with these other leaders of the Hand. Like, it was starting to feel a bit repetitive, and it was taken away from her specialness of being the main villain, right? Even though I did like some elements that came out of it, I actually really like the idea that they've been alive so long that they've actually tried to assassinate each other before, and they've gotten over it because they've been alive so long that you just kind of forgive things eventually. It's like, well...
Yeah, it's like, whatever. Didn't work. No big deal.
And it had a good laugh, like when Gao went to speak to her on her own, and she's like, "Yes, I remember when everyone tried to like assassinate you," and she's like, "You led that pack." Well, yes, the past is the past. Like, that was actually kind of a funny little moment. So fair play. But you know, but then there was other times when it's like the four of them in a room, and it's this very generic room, and they're just kind of debating. And that's the stuff that's starting to feel repetitive, because it's just the same kind of conflict over and over again. Oh, you want to use the black sky? We think you're kind of past your prime and don't want to, and they're kind of talking around it because they don't want to just come out and say it. So that was starting to feel like it was going around in circles. Of course, Alexandra does go and find Elektra eventually, and Kenna has a moment where it seems like she convinces her. Although obviously we're thinking, has she really, or is Elektra just sort of going along with it now? Yeah. At our own gravestone is where she finds her. And it all kind of builds. So eventually, Elektra, when you know, Matt comes in, Jessica comes in, when Elektra's there, she wins. She beats them all. Like, it's showing you at least one-on-one she can beat all of them. All four of them at the same time is maybe a different scenario, but they all, because Luke's knocked out and because Daredevil does all his parkour to get up there quick, it's one-on-one each scenario.
Yeah.
And she beats them all. And again, we're not sure, like, is she just full on Terminator again and she's not knowing who she is, or is this different? But but she drags off Danny while he's still tied. She knocks him out and just carries him off. And I was just sort of laughing that Danny's like he's the damsel.
He is. I'm okay with this because you can't have Jessica be the damsel.
Well, you can't. She's too much of a badass.
Exactly. And you can't have Matt.
And it's funny because it's not like I always think the character who ends up being the damsel is a weak character. It's just that I think it's really fitting that the little shithead who we don't like is the one that they have to save. I
think typically the damsel is the weak character. Not always, but typically they're the weak character because they don't really have anything else to do with them, which is why they kind of become the damsel.
Which is interesting you say that, because it kind of made me think about his own season and his purpose in this overall narrative. He's a plot device.
Right, he hasn't actually done anything yet.
He's one big giant plot device. He's there because he's the key to open this door, and that would be okay because they could still give him his own story and his own season. It would make him feel like he had an arc and all that, but they didn't really achieve that. So it really feels like that entire season is just setting him up to be this big giant, like, MacGuffin. He is the MacGuffin.
He is, yeah. You're right.
For just if you're not familiar with that term, just because you might not everyone knows these weird terms, but the MacGuffin is basically the fake object. So, well, sometimes it's not fake, but like the object in the movie or TV show that all the plot revolves around, that the characters are all actually trying to get, like in Avengers, the Cosmic Cube is the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
For an obvious example, or in pick another one. They all have it.
Yeah, pretty much any movie where people are trying to get something.
Yeah. I mean, that's the obvious. That's the obvious thing. Like, in a spy movie, maybe a USB stick is the MacGuffin.
Lord of the Rings, The Ring.
There you go. The Ring's the MacGuffin. Yeah, exactly. So no.
And some of them are more interesting than others, to be fair.
Oh yeah, obviously. It's just the whole idea is that's what the plot that's what the characters are trying to fighting for or try to protect. And he's the MacGuffin. That's what he is. He's not really a character. Yeah, I mean he could be, and they could have written him as one. But
he's more of a character here than he ever was in his show. But
still not enough, I don't think.
No, because the problem is
he's still one not.
Yeah, and even still, like when they try, they just go, let's just sideline him. Let's just throw him on a chair. It's fine. We don't care about him. And then we'll go and have all these moments with Luke and Jessica. Luke and him instead. And it's like, but Luke comes off stronger.
Oh, he does. He absolutely does. And I think it somewhat extends to some of these hand leaders because some of them feel very one note, like Bakuto. Oh, I think I nailed that first time.
You did. That might be the first time you've ever done that.
Like he's very one note, and it's not surprising he comes from Iron Fist. Gao's maybe a little bit more interesting, but even she is not super deep, right?
Right. There was growth in this show for her as well. Like, the idea that she was the one, that led this assassination attempt. There's these that rivalry that they have. There's something there.
Yeah, and so we get to the ending, and they're like. Basically, Murakami's about to assassinate, or he's going to try and assassinate Alexandra. He's like, because we think Gao's kind of on her side, but she actually, you were right, and like it seems like they're plotting against her. And that's when Elektra just drags in an unconscious Danny into the room, and he's like, "Here you go, delivery." And
you can see for a moment that the others are reconsidering. They're like,
yeah,
Black Sky kind of worked.
Yeah, maybe it does.
Maybe this plan wasn't awful.
And of course, when they go back to their base, like there's another great moment of Elektra eyeing up the Sai. She's like, I like the look of those. Don't know what it is, but I like the Sai. And so we have this scene which started off a little annoying because again it was more debating with the leaders of the hand, and then Sigourney Weaver was like, and do you know what I loved about this is her character Alexandra almost reacted like I was. There's a moment where she rolls her eyes because they're still bickering and like planning and like. And she turns around and she's like, "God damn it! Like, stop underestimating me." It was like it really felt like this scene was about her reclaiming her position as the main villain of the season. She turns around and she's like, "No, I'm the villain." And as a viewer who likes her and thinks the rest of the hand leaders are, varying from okay to just downright uninteresting.
Yeah, she's definitely been the most interesting.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, reclaim it. And I'll be honest, I did not see it coming.
No, me either.
And then out of nowhere, splat, and like blood comes from her mouth, and like a ninja, literally, Elektra's head comes up from behind, and it was set up nicely because just before she gives her big speech, she tells Elektra to go and kill the old defenders. She's like, kill Luke Cage, kill Jessica Jones, and kill the devil of Hell's Kitchen, whoever he is. And after Elektra stabs Alexandra, she says, his name is Matthew. And for a second, you're like, wait, is she like on the good side? Is that what this is? She's like, whatever she's doing, is she on the good side? And then she's like, yeah, I'm your leader now to the other hand members. And I honestly, like, I actually have no idea how I think the moment's really well done because I wasn't expecting it. But I'm really mixed in how I actually feel about this progression.
Right, because on one side it's like, okay, we lost our villain who we found actually interesting for once.
Yeah, I like Sigourney Weaver as a villain. It's shocking to kill her off early because she's Sigourney Weaver.
Right.
Right? But I'm like, do I like the idea of Elektra being like the villain now? For like,
well, that's it. I'm like, okay, I like that it's giving us something to do and it's interesting, but do I want her as the villain?
And here's the question: why does she want to lead the hand? Why does she? I mean, presumably because Alexandra told her about the substance. She told her about Kunlun. Like, so what does she want from that now? If she still wants to break through the door and get to Kunlun and get the substance or whatever she's wanting, why? What is Elektra's goal?
Right, and yeah, I don't know. Like, because the whole bit at the end of her bit with Alexandra at the gravestone, you know, she's like, okay, so we can't come back anymore. Like, it kind of dawned on her that this was her last chance as well.
Yeah, is it just for her to be immortal? Does she want to make Matt immortal as well?
See, that's what I thought. Like, because, like you say, this is it comes after she's ordered to go and kill him, and she's kind of like, no, he matters. Like, you know, that's kind of what it is. Is, you know, when he says he has a name, he matters. He's better than that.
I think my confusion here is I just don't know like. So the hand still
is she actually going to be evil though, or is she going to try and use the hand for her purpose?
And if that's the case, then who's the villain? Who's the big main threat for the last couple of episodes? Which makes me think she has to still be an antagonist in some way, at least until, you know, the conclusion, whatever it ends up being.
Right.
It leaves it in a really weird place where I'm not sure what our villainous force is or what their motivations are. And we've speculated a little bit, but...
Right, but this is, you know, 2-3 quarters into the show now.
And it makes me wonder, like, so obviously, like, I think there's some good stuff that can come out of this. Obviously, the emotional connection of Daredevil and Elektra, I think their showdown could be very interesting and very dramatic because of their connection, and because she's also aware of who he is now.
Does Elektra try and recruit Matt onto her side?
Does Matt have to ultimately kill her again himself because she needs to be stopped? Because she's going to like destroy the city. She's going to like, yeah, as much as he loves her, as much as he understands what she's doing, it's going to kill lots of innocent people, so he has to stop her. And because I can
see that being a strong moment.
Yeah, and because she can let her guard down, because obviously she's not going to do it for Luke or Jessica or no one's going to let the guard down for Danny. Never let her guard down for Danny. But because like she has feelings towards him, she might let her guard down for a moment, and that'll be his chance to end her. And that'll be heartbreaking, and I can see that being a big thing for him going into season 3. Like, how does that? Not that I really want to go into season 3 with him being depressed again, but I don't know how there's any way out of it.
But at the same time, it would kind of leave him in the same place as the end of season 2, if for some reason you skip Defenders.
That'd be weird to do, but yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there was that bit where they were talking to Danny, the hand, and they were like, they were saying like, about Kunlun. It's like, you see what you want to saw, like.
Oh yeah.
And I was kind of like, wait, so are they not all dead?
I don't know, like, because they're trying to get to it, it's making me think that was just the physical Kunlun, but there's an actual like mystical like
right
Kunlun.
But here's the thing, Bakuto's back. If they're not all, Kunlun's not all destroyed, whatever. Mm-hmm. Iron Fist season actually did nothing. Like, that was it. That was it. That was what that season ended on. That was the big thing. Oh, Kunlun is, defeated. He failed in his mission.
No, wait a minute. Kyle's the goat here. Let's not pretend.
Okay. I can't overlook Kyle.
Right, and you know what? Ward kind of grew into something okay by the end of the season.
Right, but that wasn't the point of the season.
Oh, sure.
The point,
sure.
For Danny, the point was at the end, he'd gone through the stuff with Colleen. They'd killed Bakuto, and then he'd failed protecting Kunlun. That he'd failed in his duty, and he had to feel guilty over that.
If it was almost just like Kunlun was giving him this image so that he would turn away and he could never go back. Like, he would think it was gone. Like, I mean...
I don't get it.
I mean, I guess from a character perspective, if he finds that out, if that turns out to be the case, and it's like, no, they don't want him back because of his failings, like, maybe that, I mean, if it was better written, I could see that being interesting from a character perspective. Like, how does that affect him? Like, he's now shunned himself.
Yeah, I feel like right now it's just undermined everything that season did, and not that it did a lot.
Yeah, what little there was to begin with.
But I feel like, okay, what was the point in that season? If you're going to undo it all immediately after, because this is the next show, this is the next piece of the story.
Again, he's the MacGuffin. It was to introduce that the Iron Fist exists, and that was about it.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
If we get some cool Colleen action later, although the sad part about her character though is that everything right now seems it's going to connect to like, oh, the hand took my life and Bakuto lied to me all those years and whatnot.
Do you know what? The more and more I think about it, the more Iron Fist as a show was Captain America First Avenger. You know, like the idea it was the last piece before. And
it was the weakest. Although, the thing is, though, with that, at least you had a good actor in the role, so that when it became better later, he was there to, like, really, you know, elevate with the material.
You see what I'm saying, though? It was the last piece. It was there going, oh, I guess we need to finish this off.
To be fair, though, not everyone shares their opinion of that movie.
Yeah, well.
A lot of people do actually quite like that movie, so let's be honest. And, again, Captain America the First Avenger is better than Iron Fist, and not just because it's only a tenth of the length.
Right, no, but apparently a lot of people like Iron Fist as well, so what do we know?
Oh, not as many.
I should hope not, but...
Not as many. Like, we were getting a lot of comments throughout that first season of Iron Fist, the reviews, and there was very few people past the first episode who were even trying to defend it. Like, so...
No, I agree. The people who were watching along with us and commenting were definitely on our side, but I saw a lot of stuff on just social media in general of people really enjoying it, and I don't get it.
I don't get it.
But...
See this, art is subjective to a point, right?
I think interpretation and stuff like that, but there is a level of technical quality.
Yeah, even taste. Like, there's definitely, you know, like I can't stand Tim Burton, but like people love his early films. Like, people will stick up and defend for Edward Scissorhands. It infuriates me to no end.
But would you say they're bad films, or that you just don't like them?
That's a sticky line because.
All right, okay.
Because to me, it's bad because it fails to connect with me. So to me, it's failed in some regard. But for someone who does connect with, like, yeah, sure, on a technical level, I can look at it and go, oh, it's well edited and it's got style. I just don't like the style, but
right, like something like Game of Thrones, like there is a base level of quality you can't deny, but you don't like it.
Sure, I do legitimately think that show is slow as shit. But sure,
right. It may have a problem in terms of pacing and writing there, but
the budget's great. Like, it looks fun. Like, visually, it looks stunning. Like, I'm not going to dispute that ever.
Iron Fist didn't have any level of technical competence.
No, it looked like shit. It was shot like a soap opera most of the time. Like, it was really boring edits, really boring style. Fight scenes weren't shot well. Characters were poorly written. It was it was a mess.
Yeah. Which, do you know, again,
just to be clear, not even in a funny way where it's laughably bad. It's a mess in the most mundane, boring way possible.
Yeah. Now,
except Kale, who was fantastic.
He was. Just to be fair, choreography for Iron Fist has improved. Like the opening fight here, where he was against the others, his stuff looked pretty decent.
I was chanting for Daredevil so much. I was like,
I was as well. I was like, go on.
Kill him.
Knock him out. Smack him in the head. Go on, just kick in their face or something. But, but his stuff looked fine.
It really feels like he is the child and they'll have to, like, tie him up because he's just going to ruin everything by...
He's going to go off in a strop.
Yeah, so they have to, like, treat him like a child and tie him up and put him in a timeout in the corner.
Put him in the naughty chair.
Oh, man. And I don't even think
like this episode.
Yeah, as did I. It was like I say, some really a good touching moment with Daredevil and Jessica. Some other good moments. Just sort of, again, good character build. Even like Iron Fist and Luke, you get that friendship kind of building there. Even if we're enjoying the fact that everyone's telling Iron Fist he's an idiot. But yeah, we do have everyone telling Iron Fist he's an idiot. beating him up, tying him to a chair. He's literally dragged off with the villain as the MacGuffin that he is, because that's like, he doesn't need to talk. You could replace Iron Fist with like a medallion. Like, you need a medallion to get into this place, and somehow Stick get a hold of it, and now these 3 defenders are protecting it. Like, he could be a medallion, and you would lose nothing of value to this show.
Pretty much. Although, that's not true, because we would lose out on cheering on Stick in his assassination attempt.
True. Okay, we would lose that. But otherwise... But even then, that's an enjoyment because we already hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was just a medallion the whole time, which he wouldn't have a show for a start, right? We'd have 13 less episodes to watch.
All right. Joe, I do appreciate how aware the writers of this show are that Danny is annoying and stupid, and everyone's like, I don't want to listen to you. Shut up.
Yeah, that's how they should be. See, if they weren't, it would feel disingenuous.
Like his show did.
Yes. Oh, God. But still, I mean, we're looking forward to season 2, of course, because, you know, the ghost of Kyle will come back. Kyle will resurrect. They're going to use the substance to bring Kyle back, and he can finally get that vanilla ice cream he's so dearly
Oh my God,
wanted.
what if the substance is just ice cream?
It's a special...
They discovered the original ice cream.
The original... Like, the vanilla we know is just like a weird, like, you know, substitute, but the original vanilla was the true concoction that gave life to the dead.
That's headcanon now.
Actually, that reminds me of something else that pissed me off. At the start of the episode, well, not pissed me off, but it reminded me of something in Iron Fist. When they're first surrounding them and they're saying, "Oh, he said that you're the key," and he's like, "You can't believe a word he says. He's a member of the Hand." And I'm like, Danny, do you remember when you had Gao tied up and she told you who the villain was, and you said, "No, that can't be," and then like 3 episodes later you found out that Harold Meacham was indeed the villain, and then you went, "Oh, I can't believe this. I could never have seen this coming." Yes, you could. She told you. Gao told you. And she's a member of the Hand.
Oh, Danny is such a cock.
And let's not gloss over that Stick sends the head in a box to the rest of the Hand.
That's pretty cool. See, Stick got kind of badass, didn't he?
Do you know what I'm glad about? I'm glad that the Hand will be a done thing after this. As much as they're better this season, I am so glad that we're going to...
I'll be happy to move on, that they're not... Everything in the universe going forward is about them.
Yeah, so, you know, and I'm assuming we're going to get a season 2 of Defenders. Like, I think, you know, everyone's tweeting about it. I'm sure it's a success. If Iron Fist is getting a season 2 of Defenders, we'll definitely get a season 2. And I'm looking forward to what the big threat in season 2 will be, because we can finally get away from this Hand bollocks. Maybe, you know, maybe Kingpin, like, builds a, you know, anti-defense...
Brings an army.
The offenders.
Well,
he builds the off... I'm used to the Injustice League for Justice League, so I'm just thinking the offenders.
That's a point. Do you think we're going to get a moment where they kind of claim the name?
I think they might do the classic where the newspaper names them. Maybe Karen.
Yeah.
Like, in the newspaper will call them that. I can see that being the thing. Or maybe not. Like, the fact that no one but Matt's got a suit for a start, like, it feels like they don't necessarily have to do that, but...
Right.
I can see it. I can see it maybe the newspaper calling them that, but it not sticking. Like, it's the headline, and we can smile because it's the name of the show, but they're never going to have like a team name where people refer to them as the Defenders. Yeah. Especially since, you know, for all the next seasons, because they're all getting solo seasons after this, like, they're all going to be on their own again, they're not going to be interacting as much. Although, I feel like they probably should have a few more little cameos, maybe, because now they know each other.
Right, and obviously, Luke Cage was a big part of Jessica Jones' show.
Yeah.
And it felt really genuine because of that, and I feel like Luke Cage should probably just be an Iron Fist show as well, just to make that more bearable. I don't need him I don't need Iron Fist in Luke's.
I agree. I don't need an Iron Fist show in general, but we're getting one, so we're going to have to stomach it and hope it's better.
I know, that's why I was like, I want to make the most of it and at least have Luke there calling him on his bollocks.
I will say, like, obviously the last half of season 2 of Daredevil left a bad taste in my mouth. I wasn't a fan of the Hand stuff for the most part. I like the hospital chunk, like the season of the hospital when they're all like invading the hospital. That was a good 2 episodes, but other than that, everything after episode 4 I wasn't a huge fan of. But like this season's reminded me how much I actually do like Daredevil as a character, and like I'm excited for season 3 now. Like I'm excited to see what that is.
Me too, and it's reinvigorating me like wanting my Jessica Jones season 2.
Yeah,
because that was my favorite, and it's like she's my favorite character here.
And we're getting Punisher obviously, presumably later this year. Jessica Jones, I think, will be the first one after that, like next year.
it's shooting at the minute because there
Yeah,
was some new stuff last week.
I think it will be.
I don't know if you saw those little bits.
Certain villain is which reminds me. Actually, this was actually the last episode. I think it was when they were interrogating what was his face, Sawandi, and he actually referenced Jessica's past to get under her skin. It was a nice little moment.
It was.
So no, I'll be curious to see if she has to, but like if a moment comes where she feels like she wants to admit like some of her backstory to like Matt, because I remember he like sort of pokes at her backstory here and she didn't really give him anything.
Right, and then they have that nice, but it's still like a nice moment because they're like, yeah, we trust each other, sort of thing. So I feel like, yeah, she could share at some point if he asks again, maybe.
And I think part of the reason why I think we should maybe not, I don't know if we should expect it, but maybe why we'd want like think of that moment in the last episode where Daredevil showed up to like help Jessica out, like when she was being attacked. Imagine like we go all of Jessica Jones season 2, and there's no other defenders, right? It's just her, it's her plot, nice and focused, good stuff. But she's getting her ass kicked in like episode 12 or 13, and it's bad, like it's really bad. And then that's when Daredevil jumps in and like helps her fight.
I think it does have to be episode 12 because I feel like if it's episode 13, the very final confrontation, and she has help, it undermines her victory a little bit, and it becomes a team victory.
Oh sure, I think the way you do it is you have her like being outnumbered in episode 12, but then in episode 13 you have her take on the main villain on her own. That's how you do it. But just imagine the fist pumping moment if his theme kicks in as he jumps out, like he did last episode, but it's at the end of towards the end of her season.
Yeah, and you're not really expecting it. It's just
and
like,
and maybe by this point, Trish has like become Hellcat. Maybe she's like, because she was training in the first season, she was willing to fight. So they're gradually building to it. So I don't know. I could see potential there. I could see some proper fist pumping moments. I think certainly like I could see Luke or Danny cameoing in the other one show. So
they're an obvious pairing. I feel like you said though, this has definitely reinvigorated my excitement for the franchise, as the Netflix Marvel universe.
Yeah, because obviously the second half of Daredevil left us a bit lukewarm, and
we enjoyed Luke Cage. The first half was very good, but the second half was a little bit lacking, but it was all right. And then Iron Fist was really just like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm loving the length of this. I'm loving that we've only got 2 left. I think the problem with Luke Cage as well is not that it just dipped in quality after episode 7. It was that I got so fatigued that I'd kind of forgotten what I really liked about it at the start, which was his character, his kind of like his wanting to help the community.
And I feel like to go back to it's my favorite two are Daredevil season 1 and Jessica Jones season 1, and they're both very focused. They're like, no, this is the end game.
But even those flutter,
and they have their flutters. So maybe take out 2 or 3 episodes. I think they could do with 10. Luke Cage, I feel like, because it tried to do 2 separate plots, right? It did like 2. It was distinctly split into 2 halves with 2 villains. And I feel like it suffered from it.
Yeah. I think what may be interesting when we're done with this season is maybe, since this is the end of the phase, if you will, if we're compared to
this is like phase 1, right?
Yeah, I think it may be worth maybe doing an extra little video, doing like a sort of like an analysis after, like, a post phase 1, like how did it all work out, and maybe even rank what our favorite, rank the seasons, like we're, I mean, no surprise in what's coming last. You can pretty much put in your bets.
Yeah.
But I think that would be worth the end. But we've went away from this episode a little bit there towards the end. But this was a solid one. This was good touching moments. Surprising ending. I mean, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about what the ending's going to do for the rest of the show, but we'll see.
Right, but I like that I don't know. That I'm going into the end game of this going, ooh, what's going to happen? Whereas a lot of the other ones have felt very like, okay, I get where this is going.
But that said, we do have some precedents for this, because like we say, in this episode 7 of Luke Cage was when that villain had a surprise exit, and it was kind of like, admittedly that had 6 more episodes, so it was kind of building up a new threat almost, like from the get-go, whereas here obviously we've got 2, so it obviously has to be a lot more condensed. But at least in that case there was a dip in quality after that villain left, so there's a reason also to be a little bit concerned. So we'll see. But anyway, give us your thoughts and theories and what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to help the channel and want to support us, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there. But otherwise, guys, that is us. So thank you very much once again for watching. We'll see you next time. And in the words of the greatest character in the history of fiction, Kyle, have you got any vanilla?